All right, please, 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 before you stop watching this video, understand that, yes, I sound like a broken record, but that's because we're getting near that time. Ezekiel chapter 38 tells a story of a person by the name of Gog, actually by the title of Gog, presumably the leader of Russia, who will lead a conglomerate of nations to attack Israel. And when that takes place, Israel will be caught off guard because they will be on friendly terms with their attacker, which of course is something that is very viable at this point. And in essence, the place in which they attack from will very likely be Syria, simply as we look at the geography. Now, I think it's interesting because what we continue to say is that Russia will very likely use Syria and make it inconsequential in order to use it as a base of operations to be able to attack Israel when it does. Now, if you look at some of the recent things that have gone on, we know that Russia has basically said that the Golan Heights really is not the sovereign territory of Israel, that it actually belongs to somebody else, and they are probably going to lay stake to that very, very soon. They continue to put themselves in Syria, defending Syria as though it's its own sovereign territory. As a matter of fact, Putin, about 6 months ago, told his own security team and all of his officials that the western border of Syria, which would be the eastern border of Israel, is the sovereign territory of Russia. They actually call it a Russian border. That's what Putin has been doing. Now, what's even more interesting than that is Assad really hasn't been saying much of anything, because Bashar Assad, who of course is the president of Syria, really, really likes Putin because Putin has given him the kind of authority that he has always wanted and has given him the ability to become sort of less consequential to the world, but very consequential to his own country. And so this has been a very interesting thing. We've been watching Russia lay their S-300 missiles down. They have been threatening the Israeli Air Force to not fly into that sovereign territory, as they would call it. They've been saying the same thing to the United States. And on top of that, we read a story that tells us in the Jerusalem Post that Syrian President Bashar Assad has promised to provide some 40,000 militants to the Russian Federation for the war in Ukraine. This is no joke. By the way, this is being reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And what's even more interesting than that is that it's very likely. It's real. By the way, do not dismiss what's going on here, because it's part of the bigger picture of what we read about. By the way, in case you may not know, there are 14 recruitment centers that they are building these strategic mercenaries in. And some of those recruitment centers are in Syria, are Damascus. And there's a lot of implications with respect to Damascus. I don't have the time to even get into that. Matter of fact, I had to stop and pause myself from talking about that and turn this, 4-minute video into a 14-minute video. But here's the thing that's interesting. We are watching everything geopolitically shifting correctly in order for all of this to take place. Folks, Jesus is coming soon. Make no mistake about it. And I want you to keep your eyes open, because we're watching things formulate as God is setting up the stage for what will be the world theater during the time that all of this happens. Pay attention, you guys. Jesus is coming soon. God bless you.